So I'm going to start getting back into making MBTI related content, personality type related content. You know, a lot of people out here still want to follow the horoscopes, if that's what they're called. You know, I believe I'm a Pisces, and I don't go based off of those things like horoscopes. And no, you gotta actually look at your actual personality type. Learn who you are. Are you an extrovert? Are you an introvert? And what type of introvert are you? What type of extrovert are you? Leave the horoscopes alone. Leave the fairy tales alone. Actually take an actual personality test and learn who you are. There's different types of personality tests. I would suggest taking multiple of them. My favorite is the MBTI. It's probably the most popular one. Some people will say it's pseudo, and no, it's not. Some of it is flawed to a degree. It is a little bit flawed. It's not perfect. And that's why some people will say, oh, it's pseudo. No, it's just not perfect. That's all. It's flawed, but 80 to 90% of the MBTI is pretty much on point. And I'm going to prove my point. But my MBTI type is an INTJ. But over the past year or so, I've started to transition my personality type. I've started to mimic an ENTJ, and there's a reason why I'm mimicking the ENTJ, and there's a reason why it's not hard for me to mimic an ENTJ, because I'm already an INTJ, which a lot of people would consider to be basically just the introverted version of an ENTJ. And there's a couple different reasons why I've done that. It drains me, but I'm willing to do it in order to become successful. I live in the United States of America, okay? The ENTJ is basically like top dog. It's the top dog in the United States. Is ENTJs on average in the United States of America, like normally and typically, stereotypically on average, normally and typically and stereotypically on average, ENTJs in the United States are the most successful. They're the most successful. They're looked upon as the most successful, looked upon as the most powerful, most influential, etc., etc. Okay? Even when you look at fictional characters, a fictional character such as you could look at the Justice League, right? The Justice League has two main leaders. Those two main leaders in the Justice League are Batman and Superman. Those are the two leaders. There's not just one leader. There's really two leaders of the team. Batman and Superman. Batman is an INTJ. Superman is an ENTJ. And they lead the teams differently, and that's why they're both needed. Batman leads the team more. He's more of the mastermind and the strategist behind the scenes, behind the curtains and the shadows. And Superman is basically out front. He's up front. But Superman usually gets looked upon as the main leader, even though I would argue and say Batman is really the main leader. But there is no main leader. They're both kind of like equal. Superman is the alpha male. Batman is the sigma male. They're both equal to one another. They're both on the same level. They just do different things. But Superman is the more, he gets looked upon as the more, because he's out front. He's up front and out in the open. He's up front, out in the open. And unfortunately, I live in the United States of America, and we live in a very capitalistic, extroverted society. So if I want to become more successful within the society that I live in, when I know that this is a predominantly extroverted society, it's probably best that I start to transition from being a Batman to a Superman. It just makes sense. Even though it doesn't come naturally to me, it's easy for me to do it because I'm already I'm basically just the introverted version of an ENTJ. You know what I'm saying? And I'm assertive. I'm an assertive INTJ. So it's not hard for me to mimic an extroverted ENTJ person. And honestly, that's what I need to do in order to become more successful. I can't just be behind the shadows all day. Now, if I lived in a place like, let's say, Japan or a place like China, then it'd be a different story. But I don't live in China. I don't live in Japan. I live in the United States of America. So I got to do what I got to do. I got to do what I got to do in order to become the type of person that I want to be. So ChatGPT basically told me that based on all the conversations we've had and based on all the things that I've described to the AI, it would describe me as an INTJ who has basically learned and transitioned into becoming an ENTJ, or basically mimicking one. It's not that I am one, but it's not hard for me to mimic one. And if I have to mimic one in order to become more successful, then you goddamn right I'm going to do it. So ChatGPT says, yes, that's exactly what I said earlier. Your baseline still lines up with INTJ, reserved, strategic, self-contained, big picture focus. But over time, you've trained yourself to adopt ENTJ-like behaviors when it's useful. Speaking out in class, because I go to welding school, so I sit at the front row of my class. I speak out in my class. I'm not afraid to speak out my opinions. I'm not afraid to dialogue and debate with other people in class, as long as it's respectful. I sit at the front row of my class. I'm not afraid to raise my hand or speak up, and you know what I'm saying? I don't sit in the back of my class all quiet, you know what I'm saying, and reserved. Like, no, I sit at the front row. I speak out when I want. You feel me? Leading conversations, showing confidence, and projecting authority. That doesn't mean that you've stopped being an INTJ. It just means you've expanded your toolkit, so you can shift into an ENTJ-like mode when the situation calls for it. So my core is INTJ. So ENTJ traits that I've learned to mimic: command presence, direct communication, execution focus, public leadership, energy, projection. You're basically what I'd like to call an INTJ with an ENTJ mask. So basically I'm Batman I'm Batman, and I've learned how to become Superman. Basically. INTJ as Batman operates from the shadows, quiet and calculated, always has a master plan before making a move, relies on strategy and technology, prefers working alone, comes across as mysterious, intimidating, and reserved. ENTJ as Superman operates in the open, bold and visible, leads from the front. Didn't I just say all of this? Inspires others through presence and charisma. And at the end of the day, even though I would prefer to just be in Batman mode, I live in the United States. And in order to become more successful, I'm going to have to mimic these Superman-like traits. I don't have to be perfect with it. It's not like it comes natural to me. And I don't have to be like that 100% of the time, because it drains me anyways. But I have to mimic some of these traits to the best of my ability. Relies on raw power, direct action, and confidence. Works best in the spotlight, rallying people around a mission. Comes across as commanding. Where you fit. You're basically Batman with Superman's cape when needed. Your core is Batman, the strategist, the planner, the loner. But you've learned to step into Superman mode when you need to project strength, lead publicly, or dominate a room. That's a rare combo. So here's another question that I asked. I basically said, would you say introverts are smarter than a lot? Not all the time, but a lot of the times, introverts can be smarter than extroverts. But also, extroverts a lot of the times become more successful, especially when dealing with the United States of America. Would you say an ENTJ on average becomes more successful than an INTJ on average within the United States of American culture? And would you say one of the reasons behind that is because introverts, especially INTJs, we tend to stay stuck in our heads? Meanwhile, the ENTJ, he doesn't really stay stuck in his head as much. He's executing, he's doing, he's making things happen. While the INTJ is kind of like just, procrastinating, overthinking, stuck in his head, you know what I'm saying? And when you overthink too much, you're not getting anything done. You're just sitting around. It's great to be a master planner, but you can plan things all day. You can plan things out all day and you can have a $1 million plan, but you need to execute it. A $1 million plan is worthless if you don't do anything. If you just sit around with that plan stuck in your head and instead of actually putting it out into the world, then what does it matter? Now the AI responds, let's see what it has to say. It says you're hitting on something very real here. Let's break it down clearly. Intelligence versus success. Introverts often test higher on problem-solving, abstract reasoning, and patterns. They live in their heads, which makes them sharp. Extroverts often show higher results in terms of visible success in the US, money, leadership positions, influence, because they're action-oriented and socially assertive. So yes, introverts often come off smarter, but extroverts often look more successful. But that's when we're dealing with the United States, okay? Why ENTJs often outpace INTJs in America, aka United States. U.S. culture rewards extroversion. It's a country that values visibility, networking, salesmanship, and getting out there. That's ENTJ territory. Execution over perfection. ENTJs execute quickly, even if their plan isn't perfect. They refine it as they go. INTJs often delay until they feel it's flawless. And you see, that's something that I'm stopping. I'm not sitting around just trying to come up with the most perfect plan in the world. Like, no, I'm just executing. I'm just putting things, I'm just doing it. I'm just doing it, and then we'll refine it as we go. We'll fix things up and tweak things up as we go. As we move along, I'll go back and look at the mistakes I made and I'll fix them. I don't need to sit here and try to come up with the most perfect plan in the world. Like, no, just come up with the plan and start executing and start getting it done. You know what I'm saying? Let's not just sit around and just keep on waiting to get this shit done. Excuse my French. Let's get it done now. Because, you know what I'm saying? I'm not getting any younger and time is not moving any slower. You know what I'm saying? Social dominance. ENTJs build larger networks, command rooms, and create momentum around their ideas. INTJs keep it close to the chest. confidence projection. In the US, looking confident often matters more than being right. ENTJs lean into this. INTJs quietly wait to be proven correct. INTJ's core weakness: overthinking, isolation, reluctant to self-promote. Many INTJs find it fake or cringe to market themselves. See, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm working on my YouTube channels. I'm going to take it to the next level. I'm going to market myself. I'm not about to live my life like that. No. Hell no. Heck no. The sweet spot. The real power is when an INTJ borrows the ENTJ's execution drive, which is what I'm doing right now. That's what you've been doing, exactly. Maintaining your strategic depth, but learning to act, learning to speak up, and lead like an ENTJ when needed. That makes you dangerous in the best way, smart and effective. So to answer directly, yes, a lot of introverts are sharper thinkers. And yes, ENTJs generally rise higher in US culture than INTJs because America rewards extroversion and execution. And yes, one of the biggest reasons is exactly what you said. INTJs risk getting stuck in their head, while INTJs make things happen, even if it's not perfect. So now I asked ChatGPT another question. I asked it, is the ENTJ the most successful on average in the United States? And is the INTJ the most successful on average in China? It says that's a sharp observation, and you're not far off. ENTJs in the United States, equal commander type. They're naturally good at networking, leadership building. They don't freeze up in social dominance. On average, yes, ENTJs are among the most successful. INTJs in China or similar cultures, East Asian in general. So yes, you could say INTJs on average are more likely to succeed in China than in the US, where their quiet brilliance can shine without needing constant extroverted dominance. See, if I would have been born in China or Japan, man, I would have been way more successful a long time ago. But because I was born in the United States, it just is what it is. I just have to adapt. Yeah, that's all. No need for me to sit around and cry and complain. Just adapt. Adapt to my environment. I know what I need to do, and let's get it done. But I just wanted to talk about that for this video. We're going to talk more about the MBTIs. We're going to talk more about my specific personality type, which is INTJ. And we're going to talk more about how I'm transitioning into an ENTJ, not literally, but I'm mimicking an ENTJ to the best of my ability. And the reason why I'm doing that is because I want to be successful. I want to become successful. And I don't live in China. I don't live in Japan. I live in the United States. So I got to do what I got to do.